The past few days have been so filled with grief and sorrow. It's hard to stop crying. It's hard to stop thinking about those boys. This afternoon, somebody spoke to me and said, it's nice how, speaking with great sincerity, it's nice how tragedy brings us together, and that's what's happening here. But to be honest with you, I'd rather be brought together by almost anything else. I'd rather be brought together to end poverty, or to take care of people with disabilities, or to study Torah together, or to celebrate together, or almost anything except to share our tragedies. And you know, we don't believe that tragedy is inevitable. We don't believe that we're trapped in endless cycles of violence and hatred. We don't believe in blind fate. That's not the way of our faith. Our faith is about hope, and that we can somehow transcend all this to fulfill our true role in the world, which is about justice and meaning and purpose and learning and all of those things together. But this time of tragedy also reminds us of our responsibility. I unfortunately have to make many Shiva calls. And the one Shiva call, the one kind of Shiva call that's impossible is the Shiva call that you make to parents who've lost a child, because you know that there's nothing you can say. And I've done that, unfortunately, here and also in Israel. And all you can really do is to hold the hand of the parent and listen to their words. And they want to talk. They want to talk about their child. They want to talk about the meaning of their child's life. They want to talk about their potential. And most of all, they want you. One woman, I remember this so clearly. I was visiting Haifa after the fire, and she had lost her son in the Haifa fires. And she just said, take the message back. Remember my son. Remember my son, and bring meaning to his death. If it's possible to bring meaning so that his death was not meaningless. And as parents, of course, we know that the only thing you can say to a grieving parent is nothing. All you can do is sit silently and listen and grieve along with them. This morning we woke up to news that an Arab child, an Arab teenager, had been murdered. And we have no idea really what happened. We still have no idea. But one thing is very clear, and it comes from the Fraenkel family. They said, murder is murder is murder. And any child who's killed is a tragedy, and we mourn for that child the same as we mourn for our own. The one thing that's clear is that if, God forbid, this was the act of a Jewish person, that person's name will be remembered as a curse and not as a blessing. That person's name will be among those who desecrated God's name and his Torah and everything that the Jewish people stand for. But one thing is very clear. No one will hand out candies in joy at the death of that child. No one will wish that their child will also become a martyr for some cause. We will mourn together with that family, because that is our way. That is what it means to be a human being in a very terrible world. And as Congressman Lynch so appropriately said, and as the Consul General so clearly said, this is an extremely dangerous world. Never forget what a dangerous world this is. The Congressman made this clear. A month ago, is there anyone in this room who had ever heard of a thing called ISIS? Has anybody ever heard of it? All of a sudden, it controls half of Iraq. So Israel must, of course, always be ready for peace, but Israel and we and all the people who speak for Israel must always remember that this is not an easy place. We are in the midst of a very dangerous neighborhood, and we really can't expect the state of Israel to behave in exactly the same way as the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We live in a blessed place. They live in an extremely dangerous place, and it's our responsibility to somehow be their voice in the United States at a time of increasing danger. What the Prime Minister said just this week was so clear, that the danger represented by what's going on in Iraq today makes everything infinitely more dangerous, infinitely more scary, and requires infinitely more of us as an American Jewish community. This is not a time for silence. I think that after today, our mourning period is over. We just can't afford to mourn any longer. Now is a time for action. You know, if we're standing there in our workplace or with our friends and they make some kind of an absurd, outrageous remark about Israel, you know, you can't just for the sake of friendship walk away. We just can't do that anymore. There's blood on the floor. There's the potential for more blood. And our indifference means that the blood of more children will be spilled, and we just can't afford it anymore. That means that we must speak up. We must speak up before our friend makes an outrageous remark. We must speak up for the people of Israel. We must remind people of what we've seen when we go to Israel. We must remind people that Israel is an extraordinary democracy. We must remind people that Israel lives in an extraordinarily dangerous neighborhood. And we must do it in every way we can think of. It's incumbent upon us, so that blood will not, God forbid, be on our hands, to go to our computers and remind everyone we know on our Facebook pages. And we need to remind them through every electronic media we have. We have to remind them that Israel is a special place, but also a place in very special danger. And we are what stands between Israel and destruction in many, many ways. You know, it's the delegitimization of Israel that would in some way tear it apart from its most important ally, the United States of America. This is to triple and quadruple the danger that Israel faces. And only we can stand up for Israel. We are in the catbird seat. We are in a position to do something. I urge you, I beg you, I pray that you will remember what your responsibility is tomorrow, so that we have no more mourning. I'm tired of mourning. I'm tired of praying for the souls of our children. We know what delegitimization leads to. It leads to destruction. We've seen this movie, we've read this book, and the ending, I promise you, is very, very bad. We need to do everything that we can so that in 20 or 30 years we'll be able to proudly say to our children and grandchildren, and in my case, great-grandchildren, that we stood up and did the right thing, and we prevented Israel's destruction, and we were there for Israel when Israel needed us. If, God forbid, we don't, then future generations will not be proud of their parents and grandparents. It really is up to us.